I'd like to call to order the Rutherford County work session for December 5th, 2023. Have the Pledge of Allegiance, and I think it's Mr. Coy Young tonight. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to have a moment of silence. Thank you. Let's take a look at our agenda. Do we have any questions on the agenda? How about the consent agenda? Do we have any questions, concerns, or comments on the consent agenda? I'll give you a second to flip through the 82 pages. Yes, ma'am. Yes, you may.
On the bids, Mr. Lee, on the bids, the water bottle fillers and the insulation, how close are we being to having every school finished?
There are multiple water fountains at every school. We are not 100% at every school, but there are numerous water bottle filling stations at all schools.
I know we're getting closer to being.
Yes, ma'am. We're getting close to being 100%, but there are, if there's 5 water fountains in a school, most of them will have at least 3, one in convenient location, and we are working to get the rest of them completed, but we do have them in all schools.
Okay, I see them for the bids. Thank you.
L Hall for this bed, because those kids do bring bottles, and a lot of them are self-contained. They stay in here, and their water fountain was from when Riverdale first opened up.
I'll be glad to make sure we get one there, but what we do is go to the principal and ask them, and they direct us where to go, but I'll take care of getting
Well,
one.
we thought we were getting one when I was still there, and they took it off the wall, and I got so excited, and then they came back and said, oh, no, we're supposed to be in M Hall, and they put it back up, so
I'll make sure L Hall gets one.
thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? H, bus contract.
Still on the consent agenda.
Is it? Yeah. I'm so sorry. How about Rutherford Proud? No, we're not going to have
No, Thursday.
no public comment. Oh, keep going. Guest speakers.
So first, we have Ion Schools presentation by our school choice coordinator, Mr. Jeff McCann. So where is Mr. McCann? There he is. And he started right at the right time, right as soon as school choice applications went online, and I asked him today, I said, so what is it? He's more than he thought, for sure. It is different.
How about that?
Yeah.
Jumping in with both feet right off the bat. Well, thank you, board members and Dr. Sullivan, for just a few minutes to update you on where we stand on our ION initiative. You may remember that last year we started this process of offering certain schools with the opportunity to engage with their community, their teachers, their students even, in developing some unique and innovative programs, all with the goal of maybe drawing more students to them if they had available seats. We know there are not a whole lot of those out there, but this is just an opportunity for schools to create something unique. And, you know, we have a lot of unique programs already, but some of our schools we felt like really could engage in that process well. And it fits well with our district vision of having a collaborative culture, successful students, empowered educators, and proactive planning in developing that. So let's see where we are now. Initially, you remember we probably chose 9 schools to offer this opportunity to, and at the moment we have 5 schools committed to the process. I think we'd have more if we had even more seats to offer. I know some of the schools were excited about this, but really did not have any room to develop any new programs. So here's where we are. Right now, Smyrna Elementary and Smyrna Primary School are heavily engaged in the ION process. They already have a lot of aspects in place. Plainview Elementary School is going to start new next year, even though they have a brand new principal. She is very excited and intent on engaging in the ION process as well. And then our two middle schools, Christiana and Rocky Fork, are also already deep in that process. So let's go through each one of those individually and see what each one of them is about. Starting with Smyrna Elementary, they have a STEM program, and as you know, they are a Tennessee designated STEM school. That designation will last for 5 years, and I know they're going to continue to pursue that after the initial 5 years are up because they're very excited about what they have going on over there. And basically what it is they engage their students in the whole PBL or problem-based learning or project-based learning process, all with the goal of developing some critical thinking skills and engage their students in being problem solvers. They do a lot of campus excursions. They work with their community partners to really help their students connect what they're learning in the classroom to things in the real world. And a hallmark for them are those quarterly STEAM challenges where the entire school is engaged in one focused project that involves all of the content areas and all grade levels. So you ought to stop by there and check that out, one of these quarterly challenge times. Smyrna Primary School, their focus is on communication arts. And what that means is their students are going to be using various forms of art to communicate what it is they're learning in their school across all the content areas. They're going to be using photography, video, artwork, drama, music, all with the goal of showing at least a full year's growth in ELA, math, and science. And we know engagement in the arts just supports everything else that goes on academically in the school. So we're looking for good things there. Plainview, like we said, Plainview is new to the process, but they are all about empowerment. Their vision is to empower everybody in that school community, not just teachers, but students, parents, community members in that PLC process, that professional learning communities process. And basically what that means is everybody plays a part in determining what it is they want their kids to know, how are they going to determine if they've learned it or not, and what are they going to do for those kids that maybe haven't learned it yet, and for those that have learned it and just need some enrichment. Now, our middle schools, Christiana Middle School is a STEAM designated school, which is very similar to STEM with the added arts component. And really, they're heavily engaged now in that engineering design process where they help solve real-world problems in the classroom. And then finally, Rocky Fork Middle School, their program is called LIFE, which is an acronym for Learning, Independence, Finance, and Employment. And their whole goal is to equip their students with the knowledge and skills to make some informed decisions about their future careers and decide what it is that they are best suited to do and most excited to do in the future. And that's okay. Maybe they can solve this real world problem. Technology issues. But lastly, just a quick reminder of what it takes to become an ION school. It's not easy. It takes a lot of planning and a lot of hard work. You have to design your program, develop your mission and vision, engage with your community in deciding what it is that you want to do that's going to be unique and different. And that's the key, is to be different. You have to have an academic component to it. What are your benchmarks and targets? How are you going to meet those? And what are you going to do if you don't meet them? And then finally, that whole planning process where you develop your leadership team. You figure out how you're going to recruit students and publicize your program and get students into your building. And then lastly, how are you going to train the staff and community in what your program is all about? That's really it in a nutshell. I'm here to answer any questions that you have about the ION program. Anything I can answer for you? You know where to find me. I'm in the instruction suite. Yes, Ms. Bratton?
Will we be adding any more, since we have some schools that are not going to be able to take advantage of this, will we be adding some others?
This is what we've got set up for 24-25.
Okay.
Yes, the initiative will be to add more students in more schools in the future, but again, a lot of that is dependent upon open seats. It's hard to develop a program to attract new students when you don't have any room to put them.
Oh, we understand.
You know that.
Yes. Got that one down pat.
Ms. Bratton, I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Rosales.
I have a question for you. I think this is wonderful. I think these programs are amazing. So I don't want to put more work onto people, but I'm just curious. Is there like a showcase that shows what the projects ends up being at the end of the year? And is it going to be displayed within the school where we can be invited to go and look at as an exhibit? I mean, I just think this is amazing, and is there something that we're doing that kind of showcase these talents that will come out of?
That is a great
these
question,
programs?
and a lot of that is at the individual school level, and I do know that, like particularly Smyrna Elementary School, their quarterly challenges, yes, those are typically a presentation-based thing where you can go in and actually see the final presentation from some of those projects. And I'm pretty sure Christiana Middle School does the same thing along their STEAM guidelines, so.
And let me jump in really quickly and say that I just had a conversation with Mr. Eaton at Smyrna Primary, and they have a showcase coming up in December too, so we'll make sure to get that information.
Yes, that'll be great. And I would love, if we can, invite these schools to come and present before the board. I think that it would be a good way to highlight amazing things that we're doing within the county so that parents are aware and know what amazing talents and things that we have available to offer to our students. I would love to have that as part
That
of
was our plan, and for the sanctity of time, we instead, Mr. McCann is what you got.
You know,
So
I think
Mr.
this
McCann did a
is-
great job.
I think
But yes, we will do that,
I think it's
100%,
worth
we
the
will.
time. I don't mind staying a few minutes just to give time to let our students.
Well, those are great opportunities for
The,
the spotlight on education at some of our board meetings, if they could come to a presentation. So I think that's a great time for them to do that.
We're also going to be highlighting these in some upcoming videos too. We already have one scheduled for tomorrow, so
Okay, good.
there's several that will be coming up as well.
Well, as these showcases, whatever we want to call them, happen throughout the year, please keep us in mind and invite us. We'll love
I'll
to
make it a
attend.
point to do that. Thank you. I will. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Yep. So next we have Facilitron. We have Mr. Trent Allen here with us. And so I'm not as familiar, but I know some of our board members are familiar with Facilitron. And something that we have talked about internally as a staff is that we need to, in the future, a policy we need to look at is to make sure that we are uniform in our use of facilities, because that's an area that we definitely have improved, but it is an area that still needs to be improved. So that's the onus for bringing this as an option beforehand.
Madam Chair, if I may say, Ms. Darby set up, there was a small Zoom that we attended, and with this program, I think we're probably leaving some money on the table in renting the facilities. So.
Well, you aren't alone. Thank you for having me. My name is Trent Allen. I'm with Facilitron. We were contacted by Ms. Darby and invited to come and present to you guys, and we're happy to be here. I'm with my colleague Chelsea Pascal, who's also with us. Okay, so I've got a lot to cover, so I'm going to go as briskly as possible. Probably won't go through every bullet, but I do want to show you so much stuff that we'll have time for questions too. All right, so just a little bit about Facilitron. We are a platform, facility management platform and public spaces marketplace. We are principally located out in Los Gatos, California, but we have an office also in Athens, Georgia. We're in 30 states across the country, and we are partners already with 6 of the top 10 largest school districts in the country, so our bona fides are pretty solid. Our flagship products are our Facilitron SNR, which is scheduling and reservations, which is kind of what we're here to talk about tonight. And it's also notable that we have a CMMS system, which you guys might be interested in eventually, which is work orders, preventive maintenance, asset tracking, and that sort of thing. We have them integrated, so there's some integration with tracking your utilization and understanding how that's affecting wear and tear on your buildings. So for the SNR system, this is the facility scheduling and rental business management system. So on the left there, what we do is come out and create these rental storefronts. So the process for the community requesting a facility from the school district would no longer be whatever the current process is, call the school, call someone at the district, but they will go online and they'll be able to search for whatever kind of facility they want at each school or across the district. And then on the other side, you see the administrative back end, which is the piece where the school districts, district admin, but also the individual schools will have the ability to take a look at the request and approve them or decline them. And I'll show you a little bit about how that works. So what this system can become ultimately is a single system of record for both internal and external events. It's important to point out that this isn't just about rentals. This is also about tracking how the district uses their facilities internally as well. Basketball practice, really no matter who's using it, whether they're a community member, whether they're paying, whether it's free, whether it's internal, the district needs knowledge on how many hours the buildings are being used and ultimately trying to tie that to your costs and understanding then when you're renting to the community, how much are you getting your costs back when you're sharing your facilities with the community. And basically that's a struggle that every district has. They're long-term, they have a long history of sharing the facilities with the public without really an understanding of how much it's costing. So with Facilitron, we're helping you by also sort of, our business model is a collaborating type business model. We call it a partnership. It means that we're working with you to try to help you run the program. We handle some of the invoicing or all of the invoicing, the payment collection, the insurance verification, some of the things that are currently either someone at the school's having to do or someone at the district's having to do, and it kind of makes the process cumbersome and not efficient. So it is a rental business manager, but it's much more than that. It is a system for coordinating support services, HVAC, custodial on any kind of event, transparency into who is accessing the school buildings for security purposes, avoiding liabilities that have to do with either insurance being in place or inadvertently treating different community groups differently by paying them charging them different amounts, inadvertently. Easy access to public records requests, that sort of thing. And even with the partnership, we're able to use our marketing services with Facilitron to even communicate to your renter groups, hey, we're releasing availability for the school year on July 1st, and letting them know that coming on July 1st, they can come in and start making their requests for the coming year. Why that's important, it fulfills an obligation somewhat that the district has to share their facilities with the community. Also, sharing your facilities with the community is one of the most visible and consistent interactions you can have with the community. It generates significant revenue, and there's a responsibility to try to recover the costs. And it can, of course, help you leverage tracking all the use so that you can have a better understanding of how the wear and tear on the buildings affects the maintenance of all your facilities. Now, we have a little bit of a different business model. We don't charge licensing fees. We don't think of it as licensing you the software. We partner with you, and we do that with a service fee model. There are service fees, very similar to Ticketmaster or Airbnb, on rentals with dollar amounts. So the entire system can be funded through just dollars generated by the rental program. And that also goes for the maintenance software as well. And what we do for all that is there are never any upfront fees or any hidden fees of any sort. There are just the service fees on the rentals. But that means that we come out and do all the photos of your buildings to build those accounts, the rental sites. We create all the internal and external roles. We input all the existing reservations. It's a very turnkey process so that there's not a big implementation burden for the district. We provide an account manager who becomes kind of the person who works directly with the district administrator, who's the final approver, as we call them. Their job is to understand the policies of the district, even understand some of the users, understand the exceptions that might still be floating around out there to help the district run the program. We provide customer support on the renter side so that when the renters have a question about uploading their insurance or making a payment or any kind of question like that, we're handling that, and they're not having to call the schools all the time to get that information. And then we're helping you analyze your data and try to understand where you are with building what we call a facility use program, not just a rental program, all of your facility use and how you're managing it. So just a quick look at what that looks like. This is a typical storefront, although this is a little bit of a beta version that we have out. This is for Austin ISD in Texas. There would be a district-wide site where you could come and search all the schools at the district, all the facilities at the district, or you could go to an individual site of just one school and just be searching at that school. When you do, if you put in, say, gym, for example, you would get search results very much like you might expect, and then where they're located on the map, those lovely photos that we come out and do for you, and then you would pick a gym, and you would be able to see an availability calendar, which would show you just the dates that are available. So when you get those internal schedules in, the goal would be when the community requests a time, it's one that we know is available, and then it becomes just a process of deciding if we can staff it and that sort of thing and improving it that way. There's a checkout process with a couple of application pages where they're telling you about the event, and they're able to see the insurance requirements. In some states, and I think Tennessee is one of them, we offer insurance to people who don't have it through the site as well. And another thing to point out here is simply that with the digital system, we're able to put the board policy rates, not just the rates, but all the nuances of the board policy for what is supposed to be charged to particular rental groups, so that when they're making the request, if they're requesting a weekend date, maybe there's custodial. During the week, there's not custodial. There's utilities. All of it is configured in the system so that we're trying to serve them the correct amount from the beginning. There's still an approval process where that amount can be adjusted based on some exception that maybe the district didn't know existed, and that's one of the benefits of the system, so that you can come up with the final amount on approval. Ultimately, they're checking out and paying through the system as well, giving you the flexibility of paying by credit card, e-check, mailing in a check, or even by PayPal. Everyone gets an email to notify of a new request, but if you're the administrator, you're working in the back end where you have the dashboard here of all the internal and external events, all the communications that come through the system. You're able to quickly see all the pending reservations, including like how many days they've been waiting and how many days until use. You can see the pre-approvers, or you can go straight into the detail of one of the reservations where you can see the renter group, you can see if they're a nonprofit, you can see their EIN. You can even click that EIN button, and we connect to the IRS database so that you can kind of see for yourself if it's a verified nonprofit group, and sometimes you can even link to their tax filing because that's all public record. So you can take a look and see a little more detail about each nonprofit group. All the other documents are here. The payment information, when they make a payment, that's on this as well. There's a permit that is created on an approved event so that you could require the renter to show up at the site with a permit, and it has a QR code on it so that the person who's managing the event could make sure that the hours that they are renting is all, they're not showing up 2 hours early and asking for access. The district would have a district calendar that is literally a calendar of everything going on at all the sites at all times. And it's filterable by each school. It's filterable by each facility type. It's filterable by the services. So you talked about the support services. We even have a report, sort of an agenda view version of the report, which can show you, you could filter for all the custodial events, all the events that require HVAC. And this is a way that we see districts using that to manage those support services. I told you there's a lot. Trying to go. Internally, it's if I'm the drama teacher requesting the auditorium, I don't have to go through that front-end system. I can simply make a request, and if I'm not the approver of that facility, it would go to that approver. Let's say I'm the theater manager, I can go to that it would go to them and they can approve, or if I am the basketball coach and I am the approver of the gym and I enter a schedule, it's automatically approved. So it's a system for internal scheduling as well, and even approvals. And by the way, not, what may be rented to the public may be a fraction of what is managed in the district. Okay, to get into the reporting, and then we'll try to get to the end of this. On the highest level, we're showing here like the number of requests approved, declined, tracking that, and we also track what we call policy and actual. When the request first comes in, we consider that potentially the policy amount, and then when there is an adjustment made, you can see then what the actual amount is. And that is just informational so that you're trying to understand all the exceptions in the district. You could click on one and see the different reservations for a particular school, and then you can see the policy and you can see the actual, and you can see if it's, San Diego Soccer Club was reduced from 7,000 to 0. That could be perfectly fine. It's that group needs to be in a different rate category where we don't charge them, or if not, you need to understand maybe why. You want to ask some questions. And even in the system, there's tracking of all the activity in the system. So whoever made the change, you can quickly and easily go see when the change was made, who made the change, what the change was. From a reporting standpoint, we have something that, in our view, that your facility manager can come to the board with. This is your high-level overview. How much revenue are you doing? How many have been declined? And all of these things can tell a bit of a story that we can help the district understand. Approval percentage by each school. I like to just show these as and days pending by organization. These are just kind of metrics that probably school districts don't really think about tracking. How many days is reasonable for a community member to wait to find out whether or not they can use the facility or not, yes or no? And so, you're even tracking that, and you can set goals in terms of how quickly you want to try to respond. So there's several reports like that. And then the last piece that I wanted to make sure, Ms. Darby wanted to make sure that we talked a little bit about, is that another part of our services is we will do a cost analysis for the district. The district will provide this financial details of salaries and benefits and material costs and that sort of thing for each facility. And we will use that information along with square footage and facility type, construction costs in the area, to come up with a cost per hour of each facility. And then we can even put that, I'm going to skip some of these slides, I can provide this presentation to the board, but I wanted to get to some of these. What ultimately you can end up seeing is right here, your different, say, rental groups, the number of hours they've used the buildings, how much you recovered in fees from them, how much essentially you charged them, but then what was the actual cost to the district. I think ultimately that's what every district is trying to get to, is the point where, yes, we want to share with you our facilities, but we just want to share it with you at cost, at our cost. That's our offering to you. And maybe commercial businesses, you charge more, but the nonprofit groups essentially, or any of the other groups, and of course there's always going to be Cub Scouts or some group that you're wanting to let use your facilities at no cost. That's just part of it. But the ability to sort of understand how much does it cost us to allow some of these groups to access our facilities, whether we're charging for them or not. And really, that's about it. I don't know how long I've been going on, but I will wrap it up there. There's interesting stuff with policy that you can do, but if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Pretty good?
Yes.
You heard enough?
Could you, because I know that there's the maintenance, could you talk about how that dovetails they both dovetail together with the facility rental and the maintenance? Because I know there's a maintenance aspect to it.
Yes. So our vision is to connect that utilization with the maintenance. It's really what we believe no one else is doing in the space, because there are lots of vendors who can give you a work order system, and work order systems are very similar. But you know, very much like you think of changing the air filters in an HVAC unit every so many months, but why aren't you changing them by how much they're being used? Or when you think about gym floors, refurbishing gym floors, you get a brand new high school, you know it's going to be used a lot. How much is it being used? Are we worried about the lifetime of the floor not lasting as long as we expect? Even turf fields, we've seen warranty issues where the district wanted to say, hey, this field's not lasting. We think this is a warranty issue, but without any data on how much the field is being used, we've seen the warranty. We've seen the manufacturers want to decline to fulfill the warranty. So that's one way. Another way is that we currently have going is just the ability to connect a work order with a particular event. So let's say every time the basketball gym is used, you need a work order for HVAC. And by the way, we can actually connect to your digital systems to turn on the HVAC systems through the system without a work order. But many districts use work orders for turning on the HVAC system. So if you do, or you have custodial, if you're scheduling custodial or something like that through a work order, those things can automatically be generated, or they can be generated, on demand. And then those two events remain linked. So one of the things that we see there is there's a new event. Somebody says, hey, please program the air to come on. Then the air gets programmed. Then the event changes. It might even get canceled, and then the air runs anyway. So, and with the connected, integrated sort of system, the work order is visible in the event. And so if I'm the administrator for the facility use, I can see that a work order's been approved. I can see who it's been assigned to, but I'm not having to go into the entire work order system. On the work order, I can see when the event is, and those two things remain connected. If the event changes, it reopens the work order so that an adjustment can be made, so that there's never that case of the HVAC not being left scheduled when the event gets canceled.
Ms. Brun. You had mentioned on the cost, there's no upfront cost. So is it, you compared it to like Airbnb and such, is it just like a percentage, or is there like a flat fee per rental, or how's that?
No, it's a percentage. It's 10%. So if you're using both systems, it's 14%. But if you're using just the SNR system, it's 10%. So an example of that, and that fee can be visibly passed on to the renter, or it can be absorbed by the district, or ultimately, I think with the cost analysis, the goal would be bake all the costs, including the program costs, into the pricing. So $100 could either cost $110 for the renter, and the district still gets their $100, or the district gets $90 and the service fee comes out. But that's how we collect the money and never have to ask the district to write us a check. We're writing the checks to the district. And then ultimately, if you want, I said you could bake it into the price, and you're charging $110 essentially.
So we're not paying, so in other words, we're not paying for a license to have this service.
No licensing fees.
There's no
setup fee.
No setup fees. Is it unlimited seats, meaning?
Unlimited seats, even training. We all know that principals play musical chairs, so any kind of adjustments, ongoing adjustments, you got to train new people each year. I mean, that's totally common. We have training, and when we set it all up, we'll even come here and train in person to begin with.
Is everything what you've said out of the box, or is there add-ons that are not out of the box? In other words, so if we get this service, everything is turned on. The access to whatever we get is turned on.
Yes. So, yes. So, for example, if you're using our maintenance system, we have a couple of apps. We're not charging extra to use the apps. One's an inspection tool that I didn't talk about this in California, they have to inspect every room every year and fill out this big report with condition assessments on ceiling, lights, floor, walls. And so it's a big headache for them. So we've created this inspection tool that you can program. And for other districts that don't have that kind of thing, other states, playgrounds are a big thing. They have to be inspected regularly. They have to be, you have to have it documented that they were inspected, because it's a liability issue when people get hurt.
What about support? Is that included?
All included as well, yep, no charges.
If there's a bug in the system, how do you manage that?
If there's a what?
A bug.
A bug.
Something, meaning something's supposed to be working,
Yeah,
doesn't work the way it's supposed to?
right.
It's a technical
Oh, we have
issue.
bugs. We have
How do you
bugs
fix
from
that?
time
How
to
do you
time.
work on that?
Yeah, so we have in-house engineering, so I mean, we're constantly releasing new things, new features, new requests from the districts. I mean, we built this whole system over the past probably 8 years working with school districts. You know, we came out with this basic product, they said, hey, we need this, and everything that they've asked for are things that have enhanced the capability of the program. Yes, there are bugs, and boy, you know, those are hot issues, and we address them very quickly.
Okay, thank you.
I believe you said there was a tech support. I think that's what she's asking. There's tech support that we could call in and ask for that.
Right,
Yes.
but it's just more than just tech support, because you get these amazing things, but we all know technology doesn't always work to our favor.
Right, well,
So-
but this is cloud-based, so if
Yeah.
it's not working for you, it's probably not working for
Right.
everyone.
So
it's-
how is that communication going through? Is, you know, if it's not working for us and the lights have to be turned off, how quickly do we get the communication to your customer support so they can be hands-on, they know, we got to fix it, whatever?
Yes, I mean, when, you don't see that a lot. Once you get those,
Are you misunderstanding our question? Because you're asking about, like, if the renters have an issue, right?
Anybody.
Yeah, we deal with all of that. So all of that is not on your plate at all, and that's a big differentiator between us and our competitor brands, is that we are school district focused. We know your budgets are tight. We know that you guys are working far beyond anything you probably ever signed up for. And so, yeah, we take care of all of the renter support. We do weekly trainings, and that can be, you know, as many or as few people as you like. If you know, your turnover's high, if you have someone new coming on, same thing. We train them. They can come to a Wednesday night, Wednesday afternoon, I guess, training and get caught up in the system. No skin off your back, no money out of the district. This really was built with school districts in mind, knowing just what you face.
Right, because my background, I've done a lot of homegrown stuff in other companies, and as good as technology is, there's always something that happens and the lights get turned off in the sense that they can't get past where they're wanting to go to the checkout, or they couldn't add something to it. And so if it's something that's cloud-based, it's homegrown, where is that support and what's the cost to us to try to get it resolved, if there's cost?
there's no cost. And, you know, all I know to say is that our teams are working on it. I mean, when there's a bug, especially a big bug, like you can't check out, you know, every bug is I mean, we use all the software technologies, Jira, you know, to track bugs. I mean, you know, we're very quick on it. We can give you some documentation on our technical stuff and how we resolve these kinds of things. I appreciate what you're trying to say. Otherwise, which I don't think you're saying, just to emphasize, there are account managers who work with your admin, and you're saying, you know, if renters are saying, I can't check out, they're calling us, and so we know that. And if your admin is saying, I can't view this report or whatever, they're talking to their account manager, and it's their job to get that, you know, to our engineering team as quickly as possible to get it resolved.
Thank you.
So a couple just things. Ultimately, I think it's a great potential for our district. One of my concerns, because I just look at it from our entire district, what our principals have to manage and our staff have to manage. You know, ultimately my job is to remove barriers for principals, and I'm concerned this is just another thing that we're asking them to do. And so that's one of my main concerns is how do you balance that? It's just something new that they have to do. Do you have districts that just, because initially when I think of it, I would consider piloting it at a couple of schools to see what their feedback is. I'm also thinking from a middle school principal and secondary principal perspective, and it goes back to scheduling, I never want a program to tell me when I can't use my own building. And so that's something that I initially think of. I don't want this program telling a building person that they can't use it. So walk me through some of that.
Well, you know, First of all, one of the misconceptions is that somehow Facilitron is now controlling and telling, you know, you're still very much completely in control. So basically, a request comes in, think of us more as an extension of your team. You don't have to deal with some paper form, send the paper form to somewhere, your secretary or, you know, some administrator is having to communicate insurance requirements. All of those things are kind of streamlined, and we'd like to think that we're taking those off your plate. Then the ability to decline or approve. Now, the system is very customizable, so however you want to build the system, the typical way, of course, is you don't take the power away from the local school person to weigh in on who can be on their campuses, but the district wants oversight on that. So if a principal or the admin from the school site says yes, then everything's fine. If they say no, you know, it might be just blanket, okay, great, no, you know, whatever that reason is. But when you start seeing no quite a bit, you just ask that question, okay, why are we saying no? Is this, you know, we need to look out. What are these groups? Who are we saying no to? Are we saying no to particular groups? Is there a reason for that? Are we saying no because we're actually having to check some other calendar to find out if there's something going on? All of those things are, you know, typical, but they're part of the empowerment of the principals, I would say. There's one more point I was going to make.
You did say that, like, if the principal was the administrator, when they go to enter their dates in, it's just an automatic, I don't think there is an accept or decline for their stuff, correct?
No, that's correct. So each, like I said, the best example is kind of like the basketball coach. He's the kind of manager of the gym. If he puts something on the schedule, it's not a request, it's automatically approved. He's the approver of internal events. But if an outside request comes in, he could be the pre-approver of that event. He gives the thumbs up, but the district has the opportunity to review if you empower the individual schools to make changes to the pricing. And that's typical. Think of it this way too. A lot of times a district comes on knowing that there are exceptions in the field that they don't know about. You're not trying to change anything. You're just trying to get some data so that you can make decisions. So we often encourage districts, don't make changes. Come onto the system. We're going to serve up the correct rate based on the district policy for whatever rate category that organization should be in. And then when there's a change made, then you can start to go, okay, start asking questions. Why are we not charging utilities or custodial or whatever to this group? And, you know, typically, well, we've never charged them for that, or they give us something in exchange. But you start being able to look at, that's one of the policy updates that we talk about. Are the MOUs or I'm bringing you dirt for the baseball field in exchange for I get to use the baseball field whenever I want. That's fine, but what we find is even in those free cases, or like when the Parks and Rec from the city is using the school district stuff, there's this agreement, but who's getting the better deal? And we've seen districts come on board almost solely to create a method for the city to input their use. There's no charge, but you need to tell us when you're using it so that we can, in the end of the year, understand how many hours the city's been using it, and whatever they're giving us, is this a fair, are we getting a fair shake?
What's your implementation suggested timeline?
Implementation we've gotten very good at it. That's one of the great things about the business model. If we don't get you on board and up and running, we're not making money. So our implementation, believe it or not, can be 4 to 6 weeks, but I'd say for a district, it needs to be probably about 2 months, because you've got to schedule, some things on your end. So it can't just happen as fast as we can do it. Believe it or not, we can come in here and take the photos of all your schools in 2 days and then have your account built in a week. And then we'll start ingesting your organizations and building it out in 2 weeks. Weeks 3 and 4, you begin training people. Week 5, you're using it kind of internally. Week 6, you're launching it to the public. So it's pretty fast.
how do you handle a situation where someone books, then all of a sudden the school does need it and they have to cancel?
Yes, great question. So ultimately, the school comes first, right? And so this is actually one of the problems that we're trying to teach schools, that it's okay to approve. What we find a lot is a school district will have a request come in, and then they'll wait because they're thinking, gosh, something might happen. We got to wait to see if this happens. And what ends up happening for the community member is that they're sitting around waiting 30 days, 60 days, and then they get a decline after 65 days. And what is that? That's where we talk to this, we try to promote with our school districts that relationship with the community. They're not thinking about every principal really is part of that relationship, and if we're treating the community that way, they're going to be unhappy. So what we do, and it's another part of our partnership services, is if there is a cancellation like that, where an event has already been approved, we'll try to move it to a different school. Our account managers, right, that's our incentive to keep that reservation on the system at somewhere, but your admin doesn't have to think about it. Here's another example of that. Florida, we have 20 school districts in Florida, including the big ones, Broward County, Orange County, Hillsborough, Tampa. They have the hurricanes come through, and we, of course, have the remnants of hurricanes that come through here. When weather events like that cause the whole thing to be canceled, that's one phone call for the district to Facilitron. We communicate to every renter. I mean, you know, they know it's coming, but not only just that your event has been canceled for that time slot, because a reservation could be every Saturday, you know, for 6 months. The renters have an account with Facilitron where all their insurance documents live, where their invoices live. They can have a credit, they can get a refund, they can apply that credit to something else. And by the way, that's another thing. We were just up in Wilson County talking to them. We're already partners with Murray County near here. So another benefit when we start building out a region like this is that if Murray County has a renter that has caused some problems and they're flagged in our system and they think they're going to come to Rutherford County and rent, we're going to be able to tell you that they've caused a problem. They're flagged, and you can ask us, hey, why is this renter flagged? We can tell you what it is, and then you can make a decision if you want to rent to them.
And just to get clarity, the payment process is hooked up to the system, right? You can take credit cards, no problem.
Yes, credit cards, no problem. Yep. Checks, e-checks. E-checks are popular. Low fees.
PayPal, and I'm sure PayPal too, right?
PayPal, yep. PayPal, e-checks, paper checks, if you want to mail a check to California. It helps our check game that we have every day. They announce how many checks came in and how, what the lowest one, and everybody in the company guesses what the total checks were for the day. So please keep those coming. Keep the game alive.
As far as entering like our facility information, is that something that you all do, or is that something our staff goes in and enters?
Entering what kind of information?
So whether it is a gym, an auditorium at each one of our sites, is that something our staff goes and enters the capacity, or is that something that you guys integrate, or how's that work?
No, that's part of the implementation process. So Florida's a good example. They have literally a thing called FISH files. It's Florida, it stands for something. But it's every building, square footage, even capacities. So those can be important. During the beginning of COVID, capacity started being very important. Any building that couldn't handle, the certain capacity or it had to be so many spaces. What used to be 1,000 could only handle 100 people or something. And then, of course, it went to complete silence. But during those first weeks of COVID, suddenly the capacities of the building became very important.
So I have a question.
Ms. Rosales.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ms. Sharp has asked to speak first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. So one of the reasons that I think this is good for our district, when we started looking into it, was it would make the implementation one place for everybody to go to, because we've had some, we have return people who come every year to do a basketball tournament or do a pageant or something like that. And Susie, who used to work in the office, is no longer in the office. She's moved to another school or she's retired or something like that. So they're usually the one that pick up that slack and they know what to do. They know to check this box or check that box. This system can do all of that, and it makes the implementation consistent across the board, whether it's a nonprofit and we don't charge them for it, or if it's a for-profit group that comes in here. And I thought that from what you're saying, is it's going to take some of the handling of the paperwork, and we know when we handle paperwork, it costs money. It's going to take some of the handling of the paperwork off of our legal department that goes over our facilities use, and that the back office people at Facilitron could do that for them. And so all they would have to do, if I'm understanding correctly, is go in and approve what's been done.
That is exactly right. And you touch on a subject that we've seen too, when sort of the institutional knowledge of the facility rental program is with one person because it's a paper thing and nobody really knows how to deal with it. All the exceptions are in one person's head. That person moves on, suddenly the district has no idea what's going on. We've seen it a ton of times. So again,
Somebody didn't get a fax, or they sent a fax or something, and we've had, I mean, you know, when you're dealing with as many people as we're dealing with, you're gonna have that. But to me, this puts, if you have the website on there, one page, everybody can go to that one page, and everything's consistent as far as implementation going across the board.
yep, it's very nice to be able to say, hey, anyone in the community can go and request equally, not just the person who has the phone number of the principal. This is open to our community to make requests.
Ms. Rosales.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize that Ms. Sharp had asked, but this is a technical question, going back to the facility aspect of it. We've got like 50-something schools. Correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have a programmer in-house, correct?
Not for this, no.
Okay, so when it comes to the implementation side of trying to build all that profiles for every single school, are you guys able to just to take a flat file, put all that information in there, and you guys take it over and kind of convert it over to where it can be an automatic, seamless?
Yes. So as you might imagine, with doing hundreds of districts like we have, we've seen it all. I mean, that would be a dream if you had all, because we kind of create a configuration file, what we call a config file. It's not only the facility, the capacities and square footage, but it's the location, you know, the geolocation, latitude, longitude. So you're able to see, you know, on the map where the school is located and where the facility is located. So all of that is generally information that we just get from you guys, and we put it together, and it can come in a piecemeal form, or it could, you know, if you're organized, or like in Florida, they're required by the state to have a document that is literally every building, every room, you know, all kind of documented. That makes it very easy, but there's still quite a bit to do. We're coming out and taking the photos. We've built software that we're trying to release even to the public, so that if you're some small district in, you know, Idaho or somewhere with 2 schools, you could, you know, we don't have to come out and build the system for you. We take photos, but what we do now is we take photos with our system. We're entering all that, as much of that information as we can get when we're physically there, and then when we're uploading it, we have people in our office who are turning it into the account, you know, building the account that way.
So you provide the config file to the school, and the school types in the data?
No.
No.
I mean, we can do that. We can do that, but that's not, I'm not 100% sure, but I would say that that's not typical. I mean, we're getting, listen, we are trying to keep the burden low on the school district. So your rates, if they're online, if your insurance requirements and they're online, we're just going online and getting your insurance requirements. And then when we're presenting the system in the sort of that implementation stage, there's the review piece. And so you're able to look and say, hey, this is not our insurance. We changed our insurance policy. I didn't even know. The website was wrong or whatever. Rate categories, you know, we create all of those based on what your rates say online, and everybody's got a little different thing. You know, this is hourly, this is daily, this is a minimum. You know, we've encountered just about everything.
So you're saying that your staff can handle that piece of it, of the implementation. don't have to put it in a config file. We can send you an email with whatever you want, and then you guys take that information and you upload. And then based on the cost for the implementation, there's no setup or startup fee to do that work, to get everybody stand up and running for 50 schools?
Isn't that amazing?
It is, that's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Tidwell?
I just have one last question. As far as you mentioned a lot of large school districts with hundreds of facilities. When you've done your data analysis over that, and I noticed in the example you gave, what it costs to operate the facilities, I think was around $320,000, and what they charge was like $180, so it was a large difference. Is there typically a rate adjustment after the school district sees those types of differences?
Yes. And you know, we all know that rate adjustments are difficult, but we all know too that there's just been a huge spike in inflation. So even if you're not talking about rental, you know, rent costs or what you might charge for a rent, we know that it costs more to hire custodians. It costs more to provide restroom supplies, and so those are all part of it, part of trying to put it together. So, but at the same time, we'll have a revolt at the board meeting if you suddenly go from whatever you've been charging for the last 5, 10, 15 years to what it's costing you. So that's your role, is to figure out how do we get closer without disrupting our community organizations.
I would just tie on to that to say that I think that there would not be a ton of resistance for those that are renting the facilities if they could understand the reason why the rate's changing as well. So there's that component to it. Plus the lack of venues as we continue to grow as a district in general, I think there's a lot of potential that the school district could increase our funding by using your services without any loss to us. So that was my last question.
Ms. Maxwell?
Sorry. Dr. Sullivan spoke of possibly baby steps, piloting. I know you can do the whole district, but could you do 4 or 5 schools? Maybe we just did a couple of high schools and a middle school that seem to be in demand the most. I'm thinking sports facilities mostly in my head. Could you do that without doing it all? Or do you have to have it all?
We can certainly talk about that. The reason we don't like to do it, there are a couple of reasons. One, we're making this investment. We're not charging you implementation fee. We have to come out. We need to photograph everything. We don't need to photograph just the ones we're going to do. And so really, it increases our cost to kind of bring you on a little at a time. The other reasons are, sort of even the training kind of goes that way. Well, we're training this set of principals and administrators. Now we got to keep training these others. The first time training, not just that sort of supplemental training. The other thing is that now you're asking, well, first of all, we're trying to create this data, aggregate data of how you're using your buildings, but now you've got multiple systems. You have Facilitron and what's been collected over here, and you have your old system over here. You're trying to blend, if you're wanting to know how you're doing for what you did in rentals this past year, you're going to have to put together 2 systems. From the public's point of view, I'm renting, I run some dance school or something, and I do it at multiple schools. I'm at some of your schools, I'm having to go through Facilitron, and at another school, I'm doing this other way. So those are, the practical reasons that we discourage pilot programs, essentially. Not saying we wouldn't do it. We certainly wouldn't say we wouldn't do it.
Dr. Sullivan?
So for me, it's a whole, again, I love the business aspect of it. I have to work with people who have to implement it. And I'm not sure in December, in the next 2 months, this is something that would be a good sell from our principals to be able to do. That's just from a timing standpoint. I don't know that February, January, you talk about 2 months. I'm not against it. The timing for me in the middle of a school year, do you have districts that do it in the middle of a school year, or do most of them try to start?
We do. I think the time that you see the most coming on is, of course, trying to get on by the July 1st period. But then we definitely have some districts going live July 3rd or whatever the first Monday is after. And sometimes those can be, but listen, the decision making can take you know, it's not just like, boom, let's do it, you know, we're launching January 1. You know, we'll do it at your timetable, but we will encourage you to come on, you know. You could do it by March or whatever, April.
Katie?
You said you've been working with Maury County, was it?
Yes.
So would it be possible to get a contact name and number?
Sure.
for Maury County, maybe a couple other districts that
Absolutely.
Dr. Sullivan or someone else could talk to kind of see what their feedback is? Would that be helpful?
Murray County's a good one. Shelby County is somewhat dysfunctional, but they're...
I'm from there.
Wouldn't say they're our shining example of a facility use program, but,
Ways in one.
you know, it's their prerogative.
Thank you
But we
so
have,
much.
we have references from.
We appreciate this.
Thank you.
This has been very informative.
Okay. Well,
I think we've gotten all our questions and concerns in. Thank you, Trent.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll let you go more than your 10 minutes.
Thank you very much for coming.
Dr. Sullivan?
Thank you so much.
All right, next we have Megan Hickman here with us. And so, a Blackman High School, Blackman Collegiate Academy student to present our capstone project on LED lighting. So we've talked about LED lighting quite a bit, haven't we, Trey? And so thank you for doing this. I know it's a big step, so congratulations on being
Of
here.
course. So my overall capstone project was about sustainable architecture, but this was just the project portion of it. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. But there is a little bit on the back of the little pamphlet that you have about sustainable architecture and what makes LED lighting sustainable. But if you open up just to that first little page, there's a map of Blackman High School, and I decided to focus my research just on the ENF wing, which is highlighted on the map, because the school is quite large. So this is just like a sample size for reference. And just within this one section of the school, there were 1,014 lights. So on the inside, on the right, there's just some information about the lights in general. They're just your very traditional 4-foot tube bulbs. They're 32 watts for each light and about $1.80 average for each one. Compared to the LEDs that would be replaceable for them, they look like exactly the same, but they use 15 watts per light and are about $5 per average per bulb. So their energy usage for the entirety of this one, those 1,014 lights, would be about 454 kilowatt hours used in an average of 14 hours per day, like an average school schedule, to keep it about consistent with how you would be in school, which is equivalent to 13,628 per month. Compared to the LEDs that could be replaced with them, there would be about 212 kilowatt hours per day and 6,388 per month, which is over a 50% energy reduction seen. And this relates directly into the price of the LEDs. There's a significant decrease. Currently, with the fluorescent lights, it's about $1,500 per month just to run the lights in the school in just this one section, and about $15,000 a year, well, 10 months out of the year for the school schedule. Compared to the LEDs that would decrease that by over 50%, with $702 per month and $7,027 for 10 months out of the year. Yeah, it's quite a bit different. The chart on the left there shows a graph, the dark green being the fluorescent line and the LEDs on the light green, just how much it changes over a course of just 5 years, the difference that you pay between these two kinds of lights. And the little starting values at the bottom, it's kind of small, but it would be $5,070 just to implement the LED lights. They do start significantly higher. An initial cost for fluorescents would only be about $1,825. Of course, we already have those, so that amount doesn't really correlate directly into this specific equation. But it's just a huge decrease in energy, accompanied with the fact that LED lights also last longer, which decreases the need to replace them or buy more as often. They last around 50,000 hours compared to fluorescents, only 20,000. I actually worked with an engineer on my project who works at the VA who did this exact same thing for their entire building. He said it was a very simple process, which the same that I found, about a just over 2-year payback for installing them. So overall, in any school, this switch, while it may be a little costly, it will pay back very soon, and just is a great way to implement a new form of saving energy and money for any other thing that may need that money to go to. So yes, That's it.
Oh, Meg. Trey, did you, did you pay him?
I'd like to put her on my payroll. 'Cause
I thought
this is the same sheet of music, but I commend her for her diligence, and she is 100% correct.
You did a great job.
Good job.
Thank you so much, Meg.
So with that being,
Appreciate it.
Madam Chair, with that being said, can we get the CMTA back on the agenda and get a decision made with that?
The last time we met with the county finance department, that's not an option they're interested in. So it would be instead out of us to do Fund 177 to pay for it. I think we discussed that at it was a September or October board meeting.
Yeah,
We have
well,
Megan present.
when we start our budget process for 177, there'll be conversations on how much of that money, what will we be anticipating receiving from the county this year, and how much of that we want to allocate toward this program. I'd like for us to do it, if we're going to do it this way, sidebar, I'd like to do it over 2 years. I don't think we want to, I would love to do it in one, but it's going to take up too much of our funding to do it, and I think if we did it in 2, we'd still be ahead of the game. But that's kind of where we're coming.
I'm fine with that.
It's going to limit the number of projects that we can do HVAC-wise, but we'll be able to recover them, and it's instead of being over a 10 or 15-year period, we'll be able to do it ourselves.
I agree. I think we need to just move forward.
Yeah.
Move forward and bite the bullet.
Get it-
And
yeah,
if we
get it
can
off-
afford
get
it,
it
let's
off-
do
get it
it.
off.
Because it's obvious, we had someone come in with data to tell us that we can save money.
Our own students are requesting this.
We're sold. So I think we don't need to dance around this anymore. We've been looking at this since February, actually October, so last year. So I think we just.
Actually, before you
bite the
came,
bullet
before
and
y'all
move
came on the
forward.
board.
We need to move forward. Let's just move forward.
Thank you. Megan, we really appreciate it. And isn't it nice to know you already have a job? Yeah, you don't even have to graduate.
Yeah.
Great. Anyone else? Thank you. Number 9.
All right,
Zone
so,
update.
yep, number 9, I just will call the board's attention. We will have one other Blackman High School Collegiate Academy student present at the board meeting. So rezoning, so I inadvertently left off the grandfather discussion as part of the rezone, so I apologize that has to come back, because I hoped we could have been done with that in November. But my recommendation is to offer seniors for the 25-26 school year the grandfather option, so those are our current sophomores. I know there will be just some discussion, what about the freshmen? If we involve freshmen, of course, that's ultimately the board's decision. If we involve freshmen, then we just elongate how long it takes for our facilities to get where they need to. So,
Thank you. Questions, comments?
Madam Chair.
Katie?
I know myself, I would like to see us offer grandfathering to juniors and seniors. I think it's really difficult when a kid has spent 2 years of their high school career on a sports team and those kind of things. They're pretty far in that situation at that time. I would like to see that change to offer juniors and seniors. I don't know if we want to talk about that to change it for tomorrow, if everybody's on board with that or not, but just throwing my 2 cents in.
Thank you. I'm not on board with that. I know that we have done this before. We have been through this before. And when you change it to juniors and seniors, it throws off all of your rezoning. I promise you it does. I'm not in favor of it. Now, there may be, look, it's will of the board, folks, so.
Madam Chair, I did get asked about the seniors being included as grandfather option.
Yeah.
That was something that has been asked. And so I know that in the past, we've done it that way. But I don't know why we couldn't look into seeing if we could grandfather the juniors and seniors. To be honest with you, just because you do it one way, 1 year, every year, I don't believe it's the reason to continue to do it a certain way. I think that it doesn't never hurt to look at other options and to look into other options if they are viable options. That's just my take on it. But then again, it's the will of the board.
Mr. Tidwell?
I mean, I certainly support the grandfathering again. I'm glad that you brought this back up, even though we had to do it after we've already talked about rezoning. What would be the downside to, or could you speak to that about
absolutely.
juniors?
Cost. And so with our staffing, so that's kind of what we've had to deal with Rockville and Riverdale. We grandfathered juniors and seniors, I believe, 2 years ago, when we rezoned that area back over. And so we have left staff at Rockvale that, we have duplicate staff at Rockvale and Riverdale to be able to cover the numbers, because you never truly know who's going to, they have to provide transportation for grandfathering. And so you leave duplicate staff. For a district-wide rezone that touches just about every one of our high schools, there is going to be an added cost. From a student perspective, I'd love to leave the students where they are. I mean, that's what's, no doubt, what's best for the kid. If I'm looking at it from a operations standpoint, we're gonna leave some schools more crowded than they need to, not enough students in some seats where we need them in, and then we're gonna have to have multiple staff members increase there. And then I'll have to transfer those staff members the next year to another school.
Now, are we doing that with the Rockvale students?
Right now, they're at both, and I'll transfer staff from Rockvale to Riverdale if they don't grow enough next year. So they will, the staff stayed for 2 years. You hope that, and I hate to say you hope that you have enough attrition, but you usually have enough attrition that you can transfer open positions instead of having to transfer somebody that just got hired on at Rockvale. Now you have to go to Riverdale. So that, it's just logistical issues. Outside of that, I mean, we're open to, of course, it's the will of the board, but I see both sides of it. I'm just looking from a logistics, financial, and then just the transfer of students.
Anyone else?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say after that, I mean, I agree. I think that it's going to be hard. I would just wonder what the pros and the cons are so that we can come to a decision on that.
And it's not high school, but I have a unique perspective of opening a middle school, so it was strange. So we grandfathered 8th graders, and they had to provide transportation, and from a principal's perspective, it was great. I ended up with an 8th grade class of like 120 kids. It was amazing. But that left, when we opened Rocky Fork Middle, it left Stewart's Creek Middle and Rock Springs Middle and Smyrna Middle severely overcrowded by grandfathering that group. We're also overcrowded right now. I don't know that it really matters, but yeah, I mean, I hate to say that, but it's the reality.
Anyone else? Thank you. Number 10, curriculum and instruction.
So this is transformational leadership implementation training. School counseling department is requesting year 2 of transformational leader implementation training. Training provided for key leaders in our schools, K-12 and district personnel, will enhance the implementation of educator resilience professional development workshops. Resilient Schools Community Grant will fund 12-month access to the online training kits for all schools, and in-person training $75,000 and in-person training $14,000 at a cost not to exceed $89,000. And this is our year 2, and I sent the board the application. I've rejected the application once and sent it back to be revised, and if there's ever anything that I need to revise again, anytime we make an amendment, I do not mind rejecting that and sending it right back for approval again.
Questions or comments? Thank you. New job description for district-wide ESL coach.
So ESL department's requesting the approval of a new job description, district-wide ESL coach with an emphasis in Tier 1 instruction. As our English language learner population continues to rise, over 7,000 students, this position will provide support for classroom teachers on best practices with ESL students they serve. And Madam Chair, I'd like to ask Dr. Chastain if that's okay to, we already have this position, it's just reclassifying it, so you okay if she?
Okay, so you may remember this position from this summer when we tried to hire a high school specific person to help with transcripts at the ESL Center. We were unable to find a person that was qualified to do that job at the beginning of the year, so this has remained open all year. And we have a need at the north end of our county, specifically with high schools, focused on that Tier 1 instruction with the influx and continued challenge with just that regular classroom on how to support Tier 1 with our gen ed teachers, how to serve those students. And so what we are asking is that we just reclassify that position, so it's the same money out of Title III to focus on a high school Tier 1 north end of the county.
Questions, concerns? Thank you, Dr. Chastain.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So this is just a title change. There's no new money in this. This was already in the budget. Y'all hear us? It's already in the budget. This is not a new job.
Right.
Thank you. Would you like to repeat that?
Yes.
Already in the budget.
Louder for those in the back.
Just a title.
Nope.
We've saved money by not filling it already.
Yeah. Anyone else? New job description for coordinator of teaching and learning.
So Curriculum Instruction Department is requesting the approval of a new job description, Coordinator of Teaching and Learning. This position will play a critical role in the improvement, alignment, communication, and impact of current instructional systems and practice within our district. So a couple things I want to point out to that, and I've asked Dr. Chastain to be ready to talk as well. If you guys remember, we looked at our organizational chart, and there was an extra set that was Director of Teaching and Learning that we didn't have at this point. This is not a new position, and we're very careful not to make it a director position, because when you're looking at coordinator, we have instructional technology and then our elementary, middle, and high school coordinators who are vital to our school system, but having that kind of alignment portion. I'll talk about it a little bit, so you'll see. I'm going to read the motion even though we don't approve it tonight, just to give a little bit of background. So the motion is to approve a new job description for Coordinator of Teaching and Learning. This position will be funded through general purpose funds and will replace a vacated specialist position. Future increase in the cost of the index from a specialist from 1.15 to coordinator of 1.25 will be covered through additional right sizing of positions and job duties within the instruction department. So we'll cover it within our own line items that we already have. To tell you where this position comes from, it comes from we are losing our voluntary pre-K specialist. So Ms. Hubbard is going to the State Department. It is a general purpose funded position. We absolutely value VPK, but when I look at what can we do the best for the district-wise, I think utilizing some of our resources a little bit differently instead of in VPK, and then aligning voluntary pre-K underneath elementary coordinator, where it already kind of fits anyways. I would love to have a specialist for 6th grade, a specialist for 7th grade, but that's not what we have, and so sorry if I stole some of your thunder. But
No, it's your thunder to steal. Yeah, just to echo what Dr. Sullivan said, this is not increasing our footprint at all in terms of number of staff we have up here. So the only real change in terms of fiscally would be the change in that index. That is some scary wording in terms of right sizing and job duties. So I want to clarify that we have a few retirements coming up, and there's also some things that we're moving to grants. So we will actually end up with more than enough to cover. We'll have several positions that we are going to have open and probably won't fill. So that in no way is anything that we currently have in terms of our instructional staff. I just want to say that publicly so our staff knows that. In addition to what he said in terms of instructional technology, our grade band coordinators, we have our special education coordinator, our ESL coordinator, our CTE coordinator, we have student information and accountability. We have so many different departments that are all doing as much work as they possibly can and are incredible at what they do. And this position is just, alignment and consistency doesn't happen magically. So this is to help really laser focus all that's already being done on that, again, tier 1 instruction. So how can we meet those accountability expectations that the state has now given us that we will meet? I will say that, we will meet that. But this will help us do that.
Have you seen those expectations?
No, but I just
okay,
know
I just
I
thought
have
maybe you knew
faith
something I didn't.
I have faith in our people. I have faith in our people.
Yes, I love the attitude.
I just thought maybe you saw something I hadn't seen yet. I was like, where is it?
Thank you, Dr. Chastain. Are there any questions, concerns, or? Okay, this is not a new position, it is renamed. We'll make sure we put that out there. School safety.
So school safety, we have Defense Systems that presented to us, I believe, in October. Intruder action and rapid response medical training for up to 5,900 personnel and a trauma kit per school. The estimate is $147,500 to be paid out of Safe Schools and Public School Security Grant. I know that this is something that gets a lot of attention, rightfully so, is school safety. I know that we have EMA Chris Clark here, and then we also have Captain Hendrickson here with the Sheriff's Department who oversees our SRO department, just to be able to hear that we're all still on the same page. I know it can be strange when it looks like you're overlapping some of the duties that you may have, but anything we can do to make sure that our kids and teachers feel as secure as possible, I think ultimately is my job to support, and I'm happy to hear from any ideas at all.
I would like to see Chris Clark and Barry come up here just a minute. I ask you some questions.
On the spot, gentlemen.
Sorry. Okay. I, too, am as concerned about safety and and helping our schools and training. But I want to know what you folks have to offer us as hometown people.
Speaking from a division that is now 30 years old, this is a new name to something that we've done in the school system for at least 25 years, if not longer than that. Of course, we started small, and the division has grown, but we have worked with County EMA, and Chris and I, this is probably not going to help me. We went to college together, so, and we both graduated, so just so y'all know that.
Okay, I taught Chris.
That's what he told me. Did you whip him too? Because he...
Absolutely not. He was perfect.
I know somebody else that did.
I'm not sure about Mr. Vaughn out there.
But no, we work very well together, and the information, I've not personally seen this program. However, we have taught different programs with different names that end up in the same place, that it sounds like what this individual is offering. And just a couple of things that I saw, the training of the personnel and one trauma kit per school. Chris and I were talking outside, and that would be like giving this building one fire extinguisher to put in the front lobby. That's not gonna, if you teach everybody how to use something, then they should have the equipment to use. God forbid anything happen and not have to look for it in a hallway or anything like that. Chris can talk to you more about tourniquets and stuff like that he can buy in bulk to train these teachers, and not only to train them, but to have, we call it a blowout kit, to have access to them in case something were to happen. I'm not really getting my feelings hurt, but we have worked really hard at teaching the school system, the teachers, how to do this. God forbid it happens, but I think we've done our level best, and to have somebody else come in with a system that we're well versed in teaching. When we respond to something, Chris, me, whoever, we want everybody to be on the same page. And this new system, I'm not saying that it's not going to be close to the same, but if it's coming from us, people that know the teachers and the personnel, have vested interest in this county, I just think that we could do as good or a better job for less money and put supplies in every teacher's hand, in case anything were to happen.
Thank you, Chris.
I'm Chris Clark, Emergency Management Director. Lived here in this county for all my life. I've been in the public safety for 30 plus years. I have a lot invested in school teachers. I married one, and I have a daughter that's a school teacher in your county schools. I want the best and the safest possible district around. And I think that we have worked very hard to put the tools and the knowledge, skill, and ability in our school system to provide during an emergency situation. And one of the things that I just asked to consider is that we focus that type of money to other safety needs that we can provide our school system, and provide and let our emergency services that are currently working with the school system to proceed and move forward with the programs that are already in place. I'm a paramedic by trade, tactical medic in high-risk situations for 20-something years. And we have multiple of those tactical medics that already began those types of training already in your schools. They also have supplies in certain schools as well to handle those situations. Whether it's Stop the Bleed program or a more advanced program that's out there. Many years ago, I developed a white paper for it was called Trauma in the Classroom, and that was after Columbine. That has always been our focus in making sure that our kids are safe and that we focus on other ways to prevent intruders to get in our schools. And then as my job as emergency management director, it's all in planning, response, mitigation, and recovery. We've done a whole lot of planning, We've started a curriculum in our schools. It'd be like going in here and placing a new math curriculum in the middle of the school year and maybe cause a little bit of confusion in how we calculate these numbers. It's the same, it applies here. I know that there's other places where safety focus. I think that our public safety does a very good job in teaching and giving them the opportunity to invest in their own county. I'm not here to tell you what to do with the money. I just think that there's other ways of going about this that we can invest in our county, our school teachers, our children, and the guys that protect us every day out here in the field. We have those subject matter experts. I can speak for that with experience. I think we should probably give them that chance. I'll entertain any questions.
Yes, questions? Ms. Darby?
I know that there are things you probably can't speak about publicly. This is the first, I mean, we've been talking to Defense Systems for months, and this is the first time anyone has mentioned anything to me about anyone in y'all's department doing something similar to what they do. I don't think any of this was brought on at any point to overstep or say someone wasn't doing something they should. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. So if there are feelings hurt, please know that that's not, I don't think anybody's intention on the school side, but I would love to, if we have time between now and Thursday, if either one of you have time or are willing to kind of maybe talk to some of us about what that looks like for you. I went to a free training by Defense Systems, so I have no idea what that looks like in comparison to you. My focus wasn't on an SRO type situation, but more in making sure our teachers had some knowledge and were prepared on things they could do to help a situation. So I'm totally open to hearing what you guys have. We're just kind of at a crunch time at this point. This has been put off and put off and put off, and I don't ever want to have to get up here and say we should have at some point.
No, man, we don't either. And trust me, in this job, you're not hurting my feelings at all. I promise. And we would love to talk to you about that. Chris and I we can come and show you kind of what we've been doing over the years. With that. Any time that we could ask to go somewhere and give out information, we'll show up. There's no doubt about it. And we would love to talk to an individual or group. It doesn't matter. We've done it all. So.
I'd like to say, in Captain Henderson's defense, he just took back over the department at the beginning of this year as well. So that is into the year. So this probably is newer for him. So great point.
Yeah, when I came back over, I got a page on, and we reestablished a relationship, and we're working a lot now. We call each other. I mean, Chris, we're on speed dial page, so yeah. We're here for you, it's almost.
Ms. Darby was smart enough to put in some safety days for us, which I still think is two of the best things that we've done.
Agree.
And one question that I have is, one of our safety days is in January. What can you do for us on that safety day?
It's funny that you ask.
Just happen to have something?
Well, we do have part of a day already scheduled.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I will
Not
say,
the only time we'll have this, though.
I will say that there currently this morning we had a meeting with your safety teams, local law enforcement. So not only do we have the sheriff's department, but we also work with Smyrna, Laverne, Murfreesboro, all of our law enforcement, so that we're all singing off the same sheet of music. Something that's kind of rare because we have 5 different governments here, basically. And we're all singing from the same type of curriculum, our responses, our vocabulary as we enter the schools. But we also provide and are capable of the medical side of this too. And that's something that My daughter, I will tell you that she was scared to death after Covenant. And we've had some long talks. Her major, and what I told her is her primary focus is educating those students and loving those students. In the back of your mind, have an idea what you're going to do in the event of an intruder. Have a plan. We're providing those plans. You have a safety team that provides that every day. You have Mr. Trey, I've worked with him, Dr. Sullivan. We have the best relationship, public safety in schools, than we ever had before. And we have the expertise in this county to provide those at a lower cost and get more bang for your buck and focus other safety monies in areas that it may can. But I will reassure you that our safety people know what they're doing. And they're willing to train these teachers if that's what, to every extent of how to control a critical patient.
Mr. Tidwell?
Yes, I appreciate you guys coming tonight as well. I went and saw a presentation through Defense Systems as well, and I was impressed. And again, I'm in the same boat as Ms. Darby, as just kind of hearing about it. But I would be open to learning more and see what that looks like locally as well. Whether that's an executive session, whether we're pushing this motion back to give time for you guys to prepare a presentation. I think there's more options on the table to at least consider everything. But I would love to hear more before making any type of decision.
Sure. And then back to Ms. Bratton, his statement was January the 5th, we're putting on a incident command exercise for our principals and assistant principals. Along with that, we're gaining relationship with the responders. So our responders will be here for them as well to assist in this exercise. Also, we have on a schedule is active shooter prior to each school year. We want to not only Murfreesboro City, but we also have county schools as well. School safety is at the forefront of our agenda in public safety. There is nothing more important than our school safety. And I will reassure you that.
Ms. Rosales?
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. I would rather have our people give this training and save the cost, like you said, for something else, because we need other things within the safety. I know we got a grant, but we weren't able to get everything that we needed within that. So I'd rather, if we can save the money and we get a bang for a buck and having our own people to do it, I'd rather do that. I would rather, honestly, to give you guys time to present to us, for us to put this aside for now, and allow you guys to come and not feel like they're rushed to Thursday, because I don't think it's fair that we ask them to put something together on Thursday. Since we've had other vendors come in to speak, I think we should do our, give the same treatment and give ample time for them to prepare it and come to us and speak and not feel like we have to rush and come to a decision. So I'm all about safety, but if we've got these relationships, I would like to maintain them, continue it, flourish, and so I will advocate for our people to do this kind of training. I also know that we do offer the Stop the Bleed training as well, because I was going to go to the one that was at Rockville, but I was not able to attend. So we already offer Stop the Bleed trainings to our people. So I will implore upon the board for us to pump the brakes on this and come back and revisit this and allow them, our people, to come and tell us what they have to offer.
Yes.
I would just say the reason that you see this and it's a time crunch is that we were trying to get this done for the January 5th day.
I
So
understand.
that is the time crunch.
But there is something that we're doing for January 5th, and that's safety commanding to the, what safety you guys are offering?
It's 300 staff members, not 5,900.
Right, I understand that, but we are doing something for safety.
And we will regardless of.
Right, we're going to be doing something for safety, so it's not like we're not doing anything. But if we're going to spend $147,500, then we need to do our due diligence here. And if we've got folks that are saying that are people, that they can do this, I don't feel like January 5th is the be-all, end-all date to train everyone on this when we already have something on the books to do this. So I would like for us to take a step back and allow our people to come before us and to give a presentation so that we can really have something to compare to. And if indeed, in fact, means if we come at the end of that, that there's something that is more, that the other one is better, then, you know, we go from there. But I'd rather just take a step back.
We will have to make that on Thursday night. We'll have to make a decision on that motion on Thursday night.
But we've sat here before on a work session and we made decisions where we took things off the agenda.
Did we?
Director of schools and the chair can, I'd recommend it stay so we can have more conversation.
Can I ask real quickly?
Yes, ma'am.
This is a
Yeah.
grant. Is there a time frame? So if you don't use it, you lose it?
There is, but we're fine within the time frame.
We're okay
This
with that? Okay.
County hadn't even accepted the money yet, technically.
Right. So there's no rush to make this decision.
So what was your recommendation, Dr. Sullivan?
I think since it involves safety, Mr. Reed, could it go into executive session after today to discuss? Yep, that would be my recommendation, to go into
Today?
executive session after our meeting tonight.
Are you guys prepared
Tonight?
to?
They wouldn't be for executive session, it would be our team.
Right, okay, but we want them to come and present. So if we want them to come and present, then we need to give them time to present. And to say here on a Wednesday to come on a Thursday, I don't feel like it's fair.
Madam Chair.
We need to give them ample time
Yes.
for them to be
Am I
prepared.
going to get a turn?
I'm sorry. I didn't see you. You've been
No,
too quiet down there.
No, I had asked long before everyone else. But go ahead, Ms. Darby.
Go ahead, Ms. Sharp.
First of all, I think it's a sin that we're going to reduce our teachers' safety to the cost. When we're looking at cost, first of all, this was in my wheelhouse. I have been to 3 or 4 of the defense systems training way before COVID, way before this was an issue. So, gentlemen, thank you for coming. So, nobody was trying to cut you guys out of anything. This has been in my wheelhouse. I've been on the board going on 6 years, and this is something that we've been trying to do for a long time. And one of the reasons that we're trying to get the January date is because we need to get our teachers trained. This is a training for the teachers, how to work with the students. Most of our schools already have Stop the Bleed kits. Blackman Elementary, there's several schools that have the Stop the Bleed kits in almost every classroom that they have. This was nothing against y'all. This was trying to get our teachers. We've spent money on fortifying our buildings. We've spent money on everything. We have to teach our teachers how to react when something happens. Mr. Brink is here in the audience. He's here for questions. If anybody wants any questions for him, I think it's a sin that we're going to look at this and say, we need to put the money here in our county and we need to spend it here.
Ms. Darby?
Gentlemen, I was just going to ask you, my assumption is the details you would give us on what you have to offer are things that cannot be discussed publicly. Would I be correct?
Yeah, you don't.
Well, because as far as defense systems go, there were at least 4 of us, I believe, that have attended one of those, so we had an idea of what that looked like. I have 0 idea what yours looks like. Me personally, I would like to get that idea before Thursday. I'm not a huge fan of postponing the whole thing. This conversation has been going on for months and months and months, and God forbid something happen, we're going to be sitting up here saying we should have done, or if we had only, and I don't want to be a part of that situation. I don't know what your schedule permits for. I'm totally open to, after this meeting is over, versus carrying on and on and on, talking to you guys to try to see if, even if it's 30 minutes of your time on a phone call, I'm good with that, but that's where I stand.
I think that we're not here to debate the program that the defense system may be. What we're saying is that there are options here locally that you can rely on, and that there are processes that have been in place for some time. We're not trying to twist your arm and say, do not use these, or delay any of types of safety training. What we're saying is that there are options out here that are already in place there are actions already in place, and that we're willing to provide that information to you, probably not over in front of everybody, but there are processes that are currently in place and that we would never, ever jeopardize or delay any treatment or security issues to our schools.
Ms. Bratton?
Just a minute.
I just think we're good, so they're not on the stand the entire time up here.
Would you like to sit down,
Yep.
gentlemen?
If y'all go with this, we're not going to say we're not teaching you anything ever again.
Oh, I know.
We're going to come back in and keep training and keep doing what we've doing. My wife's a teacher and my daughter-in-law's a teacher. I'm vested in it as well. I think y'all just need to know, other than this, what you have access to locally. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
you.
Ms.
Thank you.
Rosales?
I was going to say one thing, not for you guys, but there's no sin in saying that let's do our due diligence. We have people that are saying they can do this, and my question to the board will be, where was the questions being asked to know what was available? Because yes, I went to the Defense Systems, but apparently there is something in the county that is provided. So where was the due diligence done to ask about the questions of what was done in the county, so that when we're about to when we're about to vote and we've got an option, where was the due diligence there to find out what was available that the county could provide? And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Do we want to have an executive session after this board meeting? Oh, okay. Mr. Young?
I'd just like to say these guys have done an excellent job. There's a reason why we haven't had an incident here in 30 years. And I do think you guys deserve the opportunity to present to this board. And it was a shame on this board for not allowing that in the beginning. So I do appreciate what you guys have done, and I think we need to give them opportunity to show us what they can do.
How would you suggest we do that, Mr. Young?
It's up to the board.
Oh, that's up to, love the will of the board. Mr. Tidwell, you have a suggestion?
My suggestion would be, and I like to have as much information as possible.
Thank you.
With that being said, I was very impressed with Defense Systems. Don't really have an issue with what I'm seeing here currently. I would also, I think highly of our local support, so I would be interested to see how that compares and if there are differences between the two that might be reasonable, or there might be a difference where we're using Defense Systems for a portion that the local don't do, or vice versa. So my suggestion would be, since you're asking for one, would be that we do have an executive session. I don't know what the schedules of all would be. I would be open to doing that either tonight, tomorrow night. I think that's our only two options, unless somebody has another suggestion, which I'm open to that as well.
Ms. Sharp, thank you. First of all, we didn't know that y'all did this. And please, it's nothing against y'all. When we were looking at this, we talked with Ms. Patty, we've told people, we've been looking at this for over a year, and no one came to us and said, hey, our county people can do this. Not one person said that. So we weren't trying to leave you out of anything. We were just trying to take care of our teachers. Not trying to spy. I mean, yeah, we all want to have a good relationship. We're all here for the kids. We're all here for the community. However, when I started looking into the active shooting drills, the Defense Systems was the only agency that had been on facility, had done all the due diligence with all the active shooters and collected all the information. Now, if Brinks wants to talk about that, he can. I have no problem with us having an executive session and looking at that. This has not been to go outside the county and do anything, but I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to save money on safety. I'm just not doing it. I don't care what it costs. We have to take care of our teachers.
To know if we could have an executive session tomorrow night. It's going to have to be late. Some of us already have some things going, and we've got people who work. Perhaps at 6:30? Yes.
Did Mr. Reed say they could attend the executive session or they can't?
Yes, Mr. Reed, if you can't be there, that would be good.
I don't know if I heard your question, but 6:30 tomorrow, you can't do executive session if the board wants to schedule one.
That, she wants to know.
That's your question.
And they attend?
But they can attend the executive session and give us the information.
The sheriff's office?
Yes,
Yeah, public safety, yes.
yes, that's what I thought.
Okay.
Ms. Darby? Mr. Young? Ms.
Someone
Sharp?
can give me a ride.
Well,
I'll pick you up, Sam. Okay.
Ms.
well,
Rosales?
I just want to know, are they going to be available tomorrow at 6:30? Because they're the ones who are going to be presenting to us.
Can you be here tomorrow night at 6:30?
And are you guys going to be able, be ready to present?
They'll be ready.
And to, well, will you be able to present tomorrow?
They'll be ready. Yeah, they probably already have it in their head. Mr. Tidwell, is that okay with you?
That works great.
Is that okay with you? Dr. Sullivan, 6:30 tomorrow night? Mr. Reed, 6:30 tomorrow night?
Yes.
We will have an executive session at 6:30 tomorrow night to discuss this in executive session. Number 12, financial matters.
All right, so number 12, Fund 141 budget amendments, we have several. This first one is to increase Fund 141 budgeted revenues and expenditures, as well as decrease fund balance to move money that was donated in fiscal year 22-23 and fiscal year 23-24 to fund the supplies and materials for the implementation of CHESS in Rutherford County High Schools. The total amount of money moved from fund balance is $5,300. Revenue will increase $1,100 for a current fiscal year. These amounts equal $6,400, which is an increased amount of budgeted expenditures and supplies and materials in the GP budget. These funds will be used to purchase chessboards, sets, pieces, and clocks. And I mentioned this at our last meeting. This is definitely something that we absolutely could use at a general purpose right now, but we constantly get the argument of the shared money always being the fund balance, and so this is just an example of something that went into fund balance that is not shared money. So it won't delay our purchase or anything at all.
This is what Rob Mitchell
Correct.
talks to us about? Okay, just wanted to make sure. Questions? Yes, Mr. Tidwell.
I'd just like to say, I talked to Rob a couple times this week, and he he had other plans already scheduled, else he would be here to kind of present. This is his baby, and we appreciate everything that he's been doing here locally to get this program expanded, and the funds that he's raised for our schools for this. And I might speak a little bit more to that on Thursday, but he would be here speaking as well, if possible.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Number 2. This amendment's to increase Fund 141 budgeted revenues and expenditures and the amount of $429,168 to recognize the awarded state special education pre-K grant for fiscal year 23-24. These funds will be used for additional education assistant positions to assist in the pre-K classrooms and additional training for teachers and EAs. Rutherford County Schools has 22 integrated preschool classes across the district that serve over 300 students. The monies afforded to use by this grant will ensure that all students have access to highly trained teachers and staff to meet their educational needs. Just remind the board, this is integrated pre-K, so special education and typical peers is what we call it. It is not our voluntary pre-K program, so integrated.
Questions? Engineering and construction.
All right, so you will see 2 motions, and this is just a technicality. No? Sorry.
There's been a miscommunication.
Yeah.
We only need one motion.
I wondered, okay.
And it's the bottom one.
I wondered,
The
okay.
top one we don't need, just the bottom one's the only one we need.
Perfect. I
Ryan
was
and I-
thinking it was some.
We had a side.
No, you're good.
We had
Yeah.
a sidebar over here, and we narrowed it down to one.
I thought the money guy and the engineering guy couldn't figure out where the money was coming from. I didn't. So.
All right.
All right, so the request for Beatty Property mass grading bid number 3711. On Tuesday, November 28th, 2023, Purchasing Engineering and Construction received bids for the mass grading portion of the site work. All bids have been reviewed, and Engineering and Construction recommends demo plus grading base bid for a total bid of $2,790,600. Engineering also recommends requesting a contingency of $250,000 and additional architectural fees of $600,000. All requested funds to be included in this final request for the completed project at a total cost of $3,640,600. And again, the breakdown is there. you'll see the motion where we're requesting, and I think this is very important for the board to note, we're requesting to take this from fund balance. So we know that part of the, isn't that correct, guys? You are looking at me strange. Okay, just making sure. Part of what we've told the county commission is we're going to be able to fund the parts that we can. This is coming from fund balance, which is already shared money. It is an elementary school, so this lowers the amount the county has to go to the bond market for, which allows us to hopefully use extra money for land and renovations.
Questions or concerns?
Just great to see it move forward.
Yep.
Thank you.
And the official bid goes out Friday, is that correct?
Yes, sir, we'll receive bids January the 18th.
Yep. And so to put that on the board's just calendar, we have in January, we have a special called meeting. So we have in order to hit the timeline, so we have we'll get the bids go out Friday, we'll get them on January 18th, and then we have a special called meeting on January 22nd in our work session immediately following. And that is a Monday, which is strange, but in order to hit our timeline for Health and Ed for that month, Health and Ed is that Tuesday. So in order to hopefully award a bid, we have to do it that Monday so that we can hit Health and Ed on Tuesday. So.
Make those changes in your calendar.
Yep.
Okay. Number 2.
Number 2 is not great news. A request for Holloway High renovation for the virtual school bid 3707. Bid date was November 30th. 2 contractors were at the mandatory pre-bid meeting. No bids were received, so we're sending it out to bid again.
Excuse me, Dr. Sullivan. Could I ask, when we were at TSBA, I met a group out of Knoxville who said they had bid on one of our renovation projects, didn't get it, but they said they specialized, that's what they did. So that group did not bid on this at all?
No bid.
Okay.
It's a pretty lonely meeting when you show up for bids and nobody shows up.
Yeah,
Not
that's
great.
Can I also ask another question, since it's Holloway? Can we go up and down really easy now? Is that elevator working?
No, it'll be working by Christmas, so that was the
Okay,
deadline.
that's close enough, okay.
But yes, it will be our deadline will be complete. Our counselor down there's kind of kept an eye on me.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? RFQ for architectural service.
So this has had a lot of attention. So normally this is on the consent agenda, so I pulled it out separately. So this is the RFQ for architectural services. So you will see the recommended motion to approve the following companies: Goodwin Mills Kaywood, Klein Sweeney, Wald Architects. I keep calling that Wald Architects, and then Sherman Carter Barnhart Architects. And you will see in your packet of information, you have the score sheet along with the rankings, just as your information only. And so when we send something out to bid, this will go to, if the board approves, we'll communicate all and ask them their fees and kind of go from there with each one of them, and then bring a recommendation to the board.
How many of these are new?
2. One is not new for approval process, but they have not done any work for us. They've done quite a bit for the county.
Good. Questions, comments? Number 14, facility name.
So Laverne Middle School Annex Cafeteria, at the request of Principal Richard Reed, he would like to name Laverne Middle Annex Cafeteria to honor the work of the former principal, Dr. Holman, who served thousands of Thanksgiving meals over 13 years through his Project Feed initiative. And if you never got to attend that before it stopped due to COVID, I hate that because it was an amazing thing.
Amazing. Questions or concerns? 15, facilities.
All right, so facilities, you have 2 5-year building plans. So one of these, the one that does not have any, or sorry, it has, let me make sure I've got this right. The one that does not have the green bar at the top. And it says 5-year building plan proposal number 1. This is taken from the board minutes. This is what the board approved in January of 2022. Or 2023, sorry. January 2023. This is what the board approved. So you should have that copy. We obviously need to update this because some of these did not happen. So we can check off 1, 2, and 3. Those were secured. But you can see we wanted to get design moving, and we did. We got it done in May. We wanted construction to start in June. That has not happened on the Beatty Elementary project. And then we wanted to be able to use it by August of '24, and that, of course, has not happened. So that project needs to come down to this year at a minimum. What we discussed at the board retreat was the one that has the green line across the top. And so this is still my recommendation as of today, unless there, of course, it's up to the will of the board, but my recommendation is that we know green, it's in green because we had to move it to this year. We wanted it last year, it needs to be moved. We need land for a north end, Laverne High addition, and then what my recommendation would be is to go ahead and move the Beatty Middle School up and the new high school north end up to this year as well. I told Health and Ed the other day that we would be requesting all of them. Whether or not they can fund that, realistically, I don't know how they fund it without extra revenue, but I think it's our job, that's what we need. And when I communicated to them, I don't know how you can say, do you want to keep Stewart or Rockville Middle at 1,600 and Stewart Street or Blackman Middle at almost 1,700, or do you want a new high school? I don't think that's our place to say we need both of them. So what my recommendation would be is to move Beatty property middle school up and to move the new high school north end up.
And then move the Laverne High addition down?
No, I think it's all, I've told them all.
So all of them?
Yep.
Okay.
What,
Oh, Mr. Tidwell?
what is the total? Do you know what that total is going to be?
I will total it up, it is a lot. I know that we were looking for roughly about 120 to 130 million for the land, the Beatty, and the Laverne High School addition. And then when we've talked just in round numbers was 300 million for a middle and a high school together. So 420 to 440 million.
Gotcha.
Which we don't know without additional revenue, there is no way to fund that. We know that our delegation is interested in having conversation as well, and if this is our need, this is the time we need to say this is what we need. So that is part of the reason for a push. We can address our 5-year plan at any point, but it was requested for us to give them what we truly need right now, and this is what we need.
Well, we keep saying, it's our job to tell them what we need. It's their job to help us get it. Okay?
So what is the school renovations?
So we talked about that retreat. That would be just a placeholder for us to go through and figure out what schools, and again, mine were probably going to be McFadden as one of the ones that we need to look at to renovate. I know that you don't want to renovate it, but that's what we talked about. My recommendation would to be just leave school renovation on there, and then us over the next 6 months determine which priorities we want to do over that.
Mr. Lee, is there room on McFadden property to build an additional building?
It would be squeezed and it would be multi-story. It would be where their playground is. It would be really, really tight. It would take some creative work.
I mean, would that be financially better for us to just build a new building versus
Yes,
redoing that? Okay.
yes.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yes, ma'am.
There is a building right next to the school on the left. It's like a park. Do Parks and Rec own that, or does the school own that?
City.
I think the county may,
I think it's the city. We don't have anything to do with it.
That's the McFadden Community.
Oh,
You may know somebody you can talk to about that. Maybe they have baseball.
I was thinking that could go down, and that would be a perfect place to put the new and improved. But, yeah, I do know someone. I'll mention it.
So if the board's okay, what I will do is I will move those up. At that point, then my recommendation is to probably leave 24, 25 blank, just with school renovations, and then move the middle school Plainview or Walter Hill and high school Walter Hill or Christiana up a year. And I'll have that to present to everybody. Anybody else have comments, questions?
I'm just trying to figure out how we're going to give the county commission a dollar figure. We got to come up with a dollar figure, what to ask for.
So we'll go off probably $450 a square foot.
I probably need to look at those numbers.
Yeah, I'm sure they've gone up again.
Because
Yep.
from based on what we're seeing, I probably need to at least look at it.
Yep,
What did Carter tell us? Was it?
it was almost 5, yeah.
Square foot.
$500 a square foot.
Okay. Mr. Tidwell?
I agree. That's why I was asking, I agree with Mr. Young. That's why I was asking what these figures are, because if we're going to
From last
ask
year. Yeah.
big, we need to ask exactly for what we need so that they have no idea of what that need is.
Anyone else?
You know,
Back to the back to getting our comprehensive plan put together.
Okay, legal.
All right, so now we have legal, tab 6, disciplinary hearing number 23-1201. So you have, the board's been requested to review a decision in the disciplinary hearing from Oakland Middle School. As required by policy, the director of schools has also reviewed the expulsion and upheld the decision of the DHA. Because this is the level, you can affirm the decision, overturn the decision of the DHA, or grant a hearing before the board. And I believe this was level 4, wasn't it, Monica? So that's why the board has the option of all 3.
Yes, that's correct.
Any questions need to go to Ms. Monica? Okay, thank you. Policy.
So policy, one recommended on the first and final reading is policy 6.302, procedural due process, clarifies due process for student discipline, and I asked that be on first read since it involves legal aspects for student discipline.
Then policy changes.
How would you like for me to, I don't think I need to read them, we can all, unless you just
Surely.
want me to read them.
No, I really don't.
Okay. I didn't think so.
I think we all can read them ourselves. If there are any questions, please let us know before Thursday night. Any questions that need to be brought before us right now? None? Good. Out-of-county transfer.
So the board's been requested to admit a transfer student from another school system under discipline. The student is expelled for 1 year for possession of a THC vape and for a false report of another student being in possession of a firearm. According to policy 6.318, the board may deny admissions of any student except those in state custody when a student transfers from another school system while under suspension or expulsion. Director of schools' recommendation is to deny.
Questions? Number 17, resolution.
You want to talk about the resolution, Mr. Reed, or Ms. Rosales?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that was hers. I don't know who wants to.
Resolution.
We have a copy of that.
Yes.
Yes.
So, in your packets, you should have gotten a resolution, and Jeffrey will be, reading you the resolution. I don't see the resolution.
Yeah, here it is, right here.
Oh,
Right here.
Get one.
It's stuck.
Is it stuck?
Mine was stuck to the,
Where is it stuck at? Yeah.
right there. Hold on.
Yeah, I don't have it. Yeah, I don't have a resolution. All right, thank you. Go ahead.
So Mr. Rosales had recommended that a resolution be prepared and be presented to the board. And this pertains to the calculation of school grades. As you know, the state has implemented a process by which schools are graded by letter grades A through F. And one of the metrics that is utilized to grade a school that's been announced by the State Department of Education has been achievement scores of students. And as we all know, with respect to the achievement scores of our ESL students, oftentimes they're lower than what they would be if they were proficient in English, because oftentimes our ESL students are taking written tests based, of course, in an English language, which is not their home language, and they're not yet fluent in that language, yet they are required to take a test in that language they're not accustomed to, they're not fluent in yet. So it did not seem to be fair to schools who have high levels of ESL students to use the scores of the ESL students in calculating the grades of the school, because it's not really indicative of how an ESL student is performing or the educational benefit being conferred on that student by that school. You know, the growth measure is a better mechanism to see whether a school is actually conferring benefits on an ESL student rather than achievement, because you measure what they knew when they first came into the school system and what they know at the end of the school year. So growth is a much better means to score ESL students when they're still in the process of learning English. So what this resolution is asking to do is asking the state to not consider these students, ESL students, in tiers 1 through 3 from their achievement scores in calculating a school's grade. So you would exclude the ESL students' achievement scores in tiers 1 through 3 from the calculation of the school's letter grade. So that's what this resolution is requesting. And so, just to read what it says, whereas the state of Tennessee has implemented a system pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated Section 49-1-228 to grade schools with a grading system utilizing letter grades to provide parents and families with information that shows how schools are performing. And whereas the State Department of Education has adopted a scoring metric for grading schools based on multiple criteria, including achievement and growth. And whereas the achievement criteria under the scoring metric is based upon proficiency success rates on the Tennessee Comprehensive Assessment Program test and end-of-course exams, and whereas certain schools within a school system may have significant numbers of students who are still learning to be fluent in English and for whom English is not their native language, and whereas scoring students based on tests who are still learning to speak English is not an accurate measure of such students' academic performance, and whereas similarly scoring schools based on the performance of students who are still in the process of becoming fluent in English is not a valid measure of the education conferred by a school and creates an unequal scoring mechanism for schools with significant numbers of English as a second language students as compared to students with schools with lower numbers of ESL students. And whereas growth criteria metrics, which measures a student's performance relative to their previous performance, is a more accurate measurement of the education conferred by a school on its students. And whereas the grades which a school receives is important to the success of that school, the morale of the school teachers and staff, and the engagement level of students attending a school, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education this date as follows. The Rutherford County Board of Education respectfully requests that the state legislature adopt legislation excluding the achievement criteria for ESL students in TISA tiers 1 through 3 from the calculation of the grades of a school, but that the growth scoring metrics continue to be utilized in the calculation of the grade of a school. And that's the proposed resolution for Thursday.
He wanted, yeah, go ahead.
You want to say something?
I just want to say thank you because it's something we've talked about, and as our ESL population continues to increase, this is something that is going to be, we're going to serve all of our students, but on the potential accountability system, it's going to be a challenge. When we were at TSBA, it was mentioned that Rutherford County has just as high of a percentage of English language learners as Metro Nashville Davidson County, and I think that was a shock to hear. I think we knew it, but to hear the large school districts say Rutherford County, that's why they're at the table, it was surprising.
Right.
Yes.
Is there any way we can tie a percentage to this to give it more meaning?
I would love to, but since the state hasn't released what that percentage is, I have no idea what to go on.
We don't know internally how many English language learners we have.
Oh, yes, we do know that, yes, I can. Yeah, so it's right
I
over
think if we could
4.
tie that into this, it would give them more of an example of what we're dealing with here in Rutherford County.
Right under 14%. So.
I do think that.
You've got Ms. Sharp.
Ms. Sharp. Thank you. I think this is a great, Ms. Rosales, I think this is a great resolution. This is something that I've talked about for a number of years because it is really unfair to our teachers that are graded on their performance on these, and I spoke with Mr. Spurlock about this, and at the time there was a year moratorium, and I've said many times, the teachers are telling us that it's taken 3 to 5 years for the students to be proficient and comprehend. And that goes along with their reading. They talk about our reading scores and everything. It's more of a comprehension that kids, it's not that they can't read, they can read. It's a comprehension level skill that they so I think this is great. I think we need to send this out to the other districts around here, and we need to be downtown lobbying all of our legislators with this across the state.
Mr. Young, you wanted to add into this our percentage of ESL students?
Yes, I think something to give them
a number. Okay.
So they'll know what we're, just like Dr. Sullivan is referring to Metro, we have more students than Metro has. I don't know how many people know that.
No, they don't. No.
I guarantee you they don't know that because I've been speaking with at least 4 of them and got off the phone with our senator this morning. They have no idea the number of ESL students. They know we've got some. We know that it's increased, but not to the numbers.
Dr. Chastain, how many languages? 92?
92 at last check.
That's what I
Be
thought.
higher than that.
92 different.
Maybe that should be included in there.
Bidwell?
Yeah, and I agree with Mr. Young on that, on the percentages, so that it's clear why we're asking for what we are. I think data always helps. And our growth, wouldn't it, over 50%, 57%?
Since August, it was 53% of English language learners since August. We just passed 51,000 today of general kindergarten through 12th grade students. 51,003. Yeah, I don't know if I should celebrate that, but it passed it today.
So that's another point to make, is that not only do we have a large percentage, but also that percentage is growing in leaps and bounds as well. So,
Ms. Rosales?
Yes, and so I'm just going to give a little context around this. So in the Tennessee Code, I annotated 49-1-228, that is the law that is referred to as the A through F letter grade. That was passed back in 2018, right? That's right. I believe that was the day that it was passed. I'm sorry?
2016.
Oh, sorry, my bad. 2016, because it became a federal mandate for all the districts across the board to have a letter grade. Since then, because of reasons beyond our control, one being COVID, that has been postponed and pushed back. And so Tennessee has been using the previous assessment accountability that was not about a letter grade. It was more rewarding schools based upon a 1 through 5 that really looked into the growth aspect of each student on academic performance. So even if you were to have a child that was an ESL student or that English is a second language to them, it really looked at and focused the growth aspect of it, of that child. But now that we're moving away from that model and moving to the new model that is the letter grade A through F, it's now really looking into the academic achievement, which is what is considered absolute. It's absolutely the achievement side of it. And so given that these students, when they come in to our doors, do not speak the language, that's a language barrier that it's going to take time for them to overcome. And even within the TISA funding model, it recognizes that you have to invest into that child for the needs of the child, and it's going to take time, and that's why there's three tiers. And that's one of the reasons why I believe we should advocate for these children not to be accounted on the aspect of the achievement, but for them to be counted more towards the growth aspect to kind of balance those schools that have a higher population of children that are in ESL. And in this law specifically does not have any exemptions at all. When we were passing the third grade retention law and fourth grade, promotion to fourth grade, there were exemptions included there.
Can we not say we?
No.
I did not
I'm
pass that
sorry.
law.
When they,
The delegation.
they, when they,
I apologize.
they them.
I am so sorry. I've been talking about this now for the past 2.5 months now. But they, meaning at the state level, at the Capitol, when that was passed, it included exemptions. It looked into the special needs, it looked into gifted children, it looked into dyslexia children, and also included your special populations, your ESL students. Well, this law doesn't include any of that. And this is a way for us to start that conversation to hopefully those that are in the state to start these conversations and fold into exceptions of children that will need to give a little bit more of a fair assessment. And that is the goal of this, and this is a start. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Number 18, lease agreement.
All right, so extension of all-state lease at 814 South Church Street. All-state insurance companies requesting a 3-month extension of their lease at 814 South Church Street. They've acquired a new space to move into, but the build-out will not be complete until sometime in March. Traley confirms that the 3-month extension will not interfere with the school system's plans to remodel the building, and a draft of the amendment to the lease is attached, and this will bring extra revenue.
Questions?
And freezing.
Financial report.
All right, I'm going to try to be as brief as possible with numbers, so a couple things I want you guys to look at if you won't mind. The first one is a 2-page document. We're getting close to being in budget season, and every quarter I like to at least review kind of where we are. So this is the two-page document, says the Rutherford County Government Summary Financial Statement. The first page that we have is our revenues, and I highlighted a couple. You're going to see current property tax was only 45% of what we expect this month. That's normal because people aren't paying it until December, January, February, so not a cause for alarm. Next is local option sales tax. It's always a month behind, so we're looking at October. You'll see it's not quite realizing what we would hope, so sales tax is dropping. So at 97.08%, we estimated 8.4 million. We only brought in 8.1 million. Hopefully the holiday season, that'll pick back up. The last one is TISA, so the Tennessee Investment in Students. You'll see it's at 120.24. That is higher each month because we estimated out above 12 months, but the state only pays 10. And so we'll only receive 10 payments. That's normal, not 12. So that's why that percentage is higher. The only other one I didn't highlight, if you look at 44110 investment income, we have already covered for the year what we expected in investment income with as high as the rates are. We expected to bring in 1.2 million. We've already brought in 1.6. And so that is going to continue to hopefully be able to cover any areas that we needed to that were the sales tax lower. On the other side, if you'll flip over, is expenditures. Just ignore that bottom. I blacked those out because it was giving us negative percentages. I have no idea why. We definitely spent money. This tells you overall, again, in that first column, how much we have for the year, how much we've spent, the percent of the budget, the actual that we spent, and you'll see regular instruction. This is skewed a little bit because we have to build into our budgets teachers that are only paid 2 times that we don't necessarily budget for. So that number is a little bit low than what you would expect that percent to be. We're getting close. We're not going to go through all of these, but if you'll go to the larger document now that has all of our expenditures, so it's a 40-something page document. We have, when this ran, so we ran this yesterday, for teacher payroll, we have paid September, October, November. The months of July and August are paid from the previous year. And so we are just a little bit over. We really should be at about 25%. We're at 25.33%. So we will go back and do a cleanup amendment. We're going to do one in January, right? So we're going to do a cleanup amendment in January to add revenue to these to cover some of that, but you'll see overall pretty much online. I talked to Health and Ed about this the other day, that the way we budgeted was pretty much to a penny and to a T, and that is the way that they'll see it. They're not going to see millions upon millions upon millions of dollars of where we say we're $28 million in the hole and we come out 10 million to the positive. That's not the way we budgeted. So they should expect to see the numbers match pretty accurately to where we are, which is what we see right now. And I just highlighted a couple. One I highlighted on the next page, alternative instruction. So you'll see it's at 24.76. So something we've noticed is that we budgeted brand new positions at a bachelor's in 5. We probably need to budget bachelor's in 10 because we brought in more experienced teachers, which is a good problem to have. So very good problem to have. And it's not a surprise last thing I'll hit on is if you'll look at page 4, special education program, you'll see we've only used 23.9% of that. That's not surprising because that is where our biggest number of openings are. And so as the year kind of goes through, we're looking at saving about $900,000 in that line that we'll have available. I would much rather have the teachers than have that $900,000, but that's what it looks like. Last thing on financial, this is something that we don't have access to. The county courthouse gives us, and it's something that is great for you to see. This is our building project. We probably could get access if we asked the right people to get access to it, but this was delivered to Health and Ed the other night from the county finance director. And so this is a good description of where we have money for land. And so I call your attention to the last page first. This tells you how much money we have available, and I have it color-coded just because I'm a teacher and that's how I know to do things. The elementary is important and it's split out on purpose. Elementary money has already been split with the city. And so any of that 1.49 million, we want to use on elementary projects. Middle school is 3.8 million. That has already been shared for the 6th grade portion, but not the 7th and 8th grade portion, more than likely. And so we try to keep it separate. High school is strictly the money that has not been shared. And so when we're looking at building land or purchasing land, not building land, purchasing land, we are trying to do it as far as what would we put on these 3 sites so that we don't have to share as much money. There's a couple things in the color code matches. So when we say that we don't have any money for land, we have roughly 9.9 million. I wouldn't want to pull all of it because we always need something if a project goes over, we would need to use. But there's some, I'm just going to call the yellow ones first. So you'll see Laverne Middle Annex 2019 that we have. We have then, if you look Plainview Middle, we know that that's not actually a middle school that exists, but money that was allocated is $119,000. On the second page, Smyrna Middle School Annex renovation. So we have 1.1 million available there for a middle school. Rockville Middle School addition. If we close that one out, Trey, I think we have, haven't we? We've closed that out.
It can close, yes.
So it has 983,000. Stewart's Creek Middle Addition was a placeholder based on our 5-year plan from 3 years ago, I believe. It has 329,000. And that just gives you an idea. And then we have future middle school of 925. Same thing, you'll see a Plainview High School on here. We know that we don't have a Plainview High School, so we could use that to be able to purchase land that we need. And there's one item I didn't hit, and I don't think I highlighted it. It's a secondary, it's 905,838. I don't know how that has been shared, if that involves 6th grade already being shared, so that's why I don't know if that money has already been shared for the little bit of the 6th grade in the city. So just thought this was good knowledge for everyone to have of what we actually have available to spend. That's all I got.
Questions?
Finances in 8 minutes.
You did well. Comment? Director's update, I like it.
Yeah, a couple quick things that on Thursday, I know I've got a lot of questions about A through F and vouchers. I'll say just a couple little things on Thursday. We did receive 2 charter school letters of intent, Rocket Ship and Novus. So their formal application is due at the 1st of February. We will bring the review committee that to the board for approval. If you know someone to serve, please submit that to Mr. McCann as well so that they can serve on that. Who is our board representative?
Mr. Young.
Mr. Young?
You served on that before, Mr. Young?
Never have.
Congratulations. It's going to be great.
I'll help you,
Yes.
Mr. Young. I've served on plenty.
Yes.
Miss Bratton loved it so much, she gave it up.
Yes.
I'll just,
Yeah, we
I
have,
already know all the answers.
The application's very small.
yeah, very, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The notebook's only like
Yep.
this, right, yeah.
These are K through 5, right?
I don't believe they're K-8. Oh, there's Mr. McCann, he's still sitting there, sorry. Yeah.
The K-8 and the K-5.
And both of them said Smyrna Laverne area, correct? So, yes. Yes. He's picking on quickly. We have a budget meeting on Thursday, and so it is requested at the last budget meeting for me to attend budget meetings too, but there are only so many Tuesdays, Thursdays during the month. Mr. Runyon is going to go and Dr. Martin is going to go, so I emailed the chair of budget and said that we only have 2 amendments, but if there's some specific questions you would like for us to address, please submit those ahead of time. I haven't received any. And then something we're going to really start saying is if it is just an off-the-agenda question, we need the next month to participate. Because we've tried to be very transparent and open, and we want to do that, but we also have to be able to have time to prepare and not just answer off the cuff. So they'll be there for that. So if it's during the meeting and they have a question, that'll be why I'm checking my phone to see if there's something specific that they need. We have the December 18th, you guys received a invite to the roadmap to Rutherford County funding. So Mayor Carr called me Friday and asked me to serve on the group that is presenting that. So I'm glad to be able to do that. Appreciate being involved. And then last, we had our first Teacher Advisory Council meeting of the year, and the tone from the issues that we had to address last year, the issues were much nicer to address this year. And so it was great. It's a great place to get energy from. So that's all I got.
Ms. Rosales, do you have anything? You're going to do that on Thursday night.
I can do it today, it's fine. So, session is going to be starting in January. There's a lot of conversations happening right now. There's going to be that meeting December 18th, that the delegation will be meeting with other stakeholders, the county, the mayor, the school board, and other people too, other entities as well, to look into funding to see how, from a legislation perspective at the state level, we can generate revenue. We'll see what happens from that meeting. Hopefully, something fruitful will come out of it. There's a lot of, I will say at this point, there's a lot of conversations happening right now, and we really don't know what bills are going to be making it in circulation until the committees start to form and they actually start having committee and they start really going through the process. So everything really, right now, at this point, I will say is still up in the air and everything is changing constantly.
Thank you.
That's as good a report as I can say right now.
That was very good. General discussion. Do we have a piece of property we need to look at?
Do we want to talk about the piece of property tonight that I think somebody reached out, or do you want to do it Thursday?
It doesn't matter.
So Stewart's Creek Road property, the other one that was sent to us?
I mean, heck, it's 8 o'clock.
I can do it either night, whatever.
Was there a third one?
You can do Thursday.
Huh?
Was there a third one?
What's the,
Is there a third piece of property?
No, this one just got brought to us. So there was another third one, so I guess this is the fourth one. This is
This is
one.
different from the one that we,
Yes.
Yes, it's around it's about a half a mile closer to Baker Road and Brown's Chapel.
And the owner reached out to us, and I said, put it on the agenda to discuss, because I know nothing of it. So that's why it's
Closer to
here.
Baker Road.
how many acres?
what do you recall?
I have 80 in my brain, but hold on just a second and I'll tell you.
I think it's more than that. I think what we need, like what I would recommend is really look at it and come back and
Right.
bring talking points back to the board
Yes.
with respect to this property, the
It
merits
Yes.
of the property.
Now I'm going to take your recommendation.
3106 Stewart's Creek Road. I have it right here.
It's 80.
It's 80.
Yep, it's 80 acres.
I'm fairly certain it's 80 acres, but I'll have all the information for you Thursday night.
Can we go and look at it?
It's all cedars at the moment. It's all wooded.
Oh, okay.
Let's get a report together, bring it to the board, so you have more information. If the board is interested in pursuing it, we can talk about visiting the property if the board wants to do that.
Okay.
I'm ready to drive.
You can't drive. So, Mr. Lee, you and Mr. Reed will work on it.
Yes, I'll bring the
something for us to
information
bring
Thursday
forward.
night.
Okay, that'll be fine. Any other questions?
Madam Chair, I have something I'd like to share with the board, if I may.
Sure.
Thank you. I will make this really fast, but I got this today, and I asked permission if I could read it. And I would say this, it's a little personal to me. I know this person, but I think this is a good reminder of why. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to explain. So this is an email that a parent got from a teacher. During a check-in that we have students complete, your child shared that her dad had gotten a bad diagnosis and that for him to be strong, she has to stay strong. I wanted to check in with you and see what we can do to support your child and your family. I know she has missed quite a bit of school lately, and I do think that your child does seem a little overwhelmed and not quite herself today. If you think that it's helpful, I would love to refer her to a counselor or social worker here so that your child has some extra support while she is at school. I am so sorry for whatever is going on with him, and we're here to support. Just let me know how we can help. The reason why I share this is because there's been a lot that's been said about teachers and their counselors, and has painted them not in a very good light. And I think that we have forgotten what the purpose and the role and mission of what they are in our lives. And a lot of times we have students that show up at these schools and we have no idea what their home life is like and what their environment is like. And for our teachers to provide support to our children and our counselors to be there to provide that support, it's just a reminder of why they're there and why they come to work and help our children. So I asked permission, and this really touched me. So I just wanted to share with everybody.
What a lovely thought. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, just real quick, because I guess somebody has 8 o'clock and I'm making sure they don't win. No, I'm just joking. Realistically, I just want to make sure, I got an email today from the State Board of Education about a parent that had contacted them to make sure that they didn't think we were allowed to cap Stewart's Creek Elementary School. And so I made sure that the State Board realized that is not necessarily the jurisdiction that the State Board is involved with. So very respectful email we got, but wanted to see, was this accurate? And I said, yes, this is accurate. This is how overcrowded we are. So in case you get an email, that was from the State Board today.
Anyone else? Ms. Darby?
Move to adjourn.
Ms. Maxwell?
Second.
We are adjourned.